Can a clash between a sitting president and the world's richest man shake the pillars of power and profit in America? In a dramatic unraveling of what was once a powerful alliance, the United States President Donald Trump and tech magnate Elon Musk have turned their political partnership into a high-stakes feud, trading threats and insults that are already rattling markets, disrupting federal contracts, and raising questions about the future of Republican unity and corporate influence in government. As Tesla stock plunges and billions in federal deals hang in the balance, the public brawl between two of the most influential figures in America, and not just America, the world, is more than personal. It's political, economic, and deeply consequential. As we delve into the details, these and many more will be explored in today's Flash News. Good afternoon and welcome. I am Tabitha Ako. Let's begin. It is from power allies to political enemies. Well, President Donald Trump and billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk have gone head-to-head in a public and dramatic fallout that sends shockwaves through the tech and political worlds. In a blistering exchange on their respective social media platforms, Trump threatened to terminate all government contracts with Musk's companies. Musk, in response, hinted that Trump should be impeached. Now, what are the potential legal and economic implications of a sitting president threatening to cancel existing government contracts due to a personal fallout, and going by Elon's statement of purporting that Trump should be impeached? Now, it all began with President Trump doing a media briefing in the Oval Office. Within hours, a war of words unfolded across Trump's Truth Social and Musk's X, where both men aired grievances and traded insults. Now, the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts, Trump declared online. Now, Wall Street reached swiftly. Tesla stock nosedived, closing the day 14.3% lower and shedding approximately $150 billion in market value. It was single-day performance in history. Think about that. Well, shortly after the market closed, Musk responded with a one-word affirmation: yes to a post calling for Trump's impeachment. Although Trump's Republican Party currently controls both chambers of Congress, actual impeachment proceedings are unlikely. Now, is Musk's support for impeachment symbolic, or could it influence public opinion within Republican and centrist voter blocs? Now, we see that the fallout appears rooted in deeper policy differences. Tensions first surfaced days earlier when Musk publicly criticized President Trump's proposed tax and spending bill, claiming it would add dangerously to the national debt, now standing at $36.2 trillion. Now, in response, President Trump expressed disappointment. Let's take a look.
Man who was very happy when he stood behind the Oval desk, and even with the black eye, I said, "You want a little makeup? We'll get you a little makeup." But he said, "No, I don't think so," which is interesting and very nice. He wants to be who he is, so you could make that statement too, I guess. Look, Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we're well anymore. I was surprised because you were here. Everybody in this room practically was here as we had a wonderful send-off. He said wonderful things about me. You couldn't have nicer. Said the best thing. He's worn the hat. Trump was right about everything. And I am right about the great, big, beautiful bill.
Elon and I had a very good relationship, but I don't think we will anymore. That's a show of President Trump's disappointment right there. But then Musk retaliated online saying, "Without me, Trump would have lost the election." Such ingratitude. Well, he also warned that Trump's economic policies, including tariffs, could trigger a recession before year's end. Besides Tesla, Musk's other ventures, SpaceX and Starlink, rely heavily on federal contracts. Now, Musk escalated matters by also announcing plans to begin decommissioning SpaceX Dragon spacecraft, the only United States vehicle currently capable of transporting astronauts to the International Space Station. However, hours later, Musk reversed his course. Maybe he had a rethink. But then, meanwhile, this clash wasn't entirely unexpected. Trump and Musk are both combative, media-savvy figures known for turning against allies. Many insiders had long predicted a breakdown, just like we get to see on the internet. Now, before the rift, Musk served as head of the Department of Government Efficiency, a role that made him one of Trump's top advisors. Musk was regularly seen at the White House and on Capitol Hill, often with his son in tow. He had helped streamline federal spending but only achieved a 0.5% budget reduction, far from his $2 trillion target. Now, 6 days prior, the duo had appeared together in the Oval Office pledging cooperation. Now, with Musk promising to scale back political donations and pulling his 220 million followers about creating a centrist party, their partnership seems shattered. And this draws the question, could Musk's influence and funding fragmentation weaken the Republican hold on Congress in the 2026 midterm elections? That's the future right there. Musk's sharpest attacks were reserved for Trump's flagship Big Beautiful Bill. He called it a disgusting abomination that would deepen America's debt crisis. And Trump fired back, certainly, suggesting Musk's opposition stemmed from the bill's planned removal of electric vehicle EV tax credits, crucial to Tesla's consumer base. Now, this draws concerns if Musk's criticism are driven by principle, economic interest, or a combination of both. Meanwhile, the Tesla's rising unrest with protests erupting at its factories in the United States and Europe over Musk's political focus. Investors are increasingly concerned about whether Musk is too distracted to lead. Well, moving on, this high-profile feud reveals not just a clash of personalities, but deepening fractures within the Republican Party. As America watches this power struggle unfold in real time, one question looms: will this split reshape the political and economic landscape, or simply fizzle into another episode of the feud in Washington? Well, moving over to still in the United States sanctions ICC judges over Netanyahu warrant, also escalating global legal tensions. In a move that marks an unprecedented escalation in United States turns toward international judicial mechanism, the Trump administration has imposed financial sanctions on 4 judges of the International Criminal Court, ICC. This action follows the court's decision to issue arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Chief Yoav Gallant, as well as previous investigations involving the United States troops in Afghanistan. Now, the sanctioned judges include Salome Balungi Busa from Uganda, Luzdeo Carranza from Peru, Rain Adelaide Sophie from Benin, and Betty Hola from Slovenia. Now, according to United States officials, these judges were directly involved in authorizing or facilitating the ICC's actions that the United States says target America and its allies under illegitimate and politically motivated pretense. However, the ICC strongly condemned the sanctions, framing them as an attack on judicial independence and the international rule of law. This is not the first time the Trump administration has gone after the court. In 2020, similar measures targeted then prosecutor Fatou Bensouda for her work on the Afghanistan probe. Also, the ICC's work has included high-profile investigation into alleged war crimes in Afghanistan, the Israel and Hamas conflict, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Sudan, Myanmar, the Philippines, and Venezuela. And the latest warrants, including those for Netanyahu and Gallant, were signed off by judges Alpani, Kanzo, and Holler. Now, this points down to the question, can the ICC maintain credibility and effectiveness if leading global powers openly defy or penalize its work? And on the other hand, how credible are the war crimes allegations? Let's take a look. Marco Rubio has made a statement. Let's watch.
Well, it is going after a non-member state on the claims that I believe, in fact, I think just in the last 24 hours, the Israeli High Court filed an appeal before the ICC, even though it's not a member state. And I saw some of the filings from the prosecutor. Mr. Khan was involved in that process. And he argues that they have the right to go after non-members for their activities within the confines of member states in this case. And I think, first of all, the whole premise of his prosecution is flawed beyond the process of it and the precedent that it sets, which is a very dangerous precedent for the United States of America, by the way, because this is a test run. This is a trial run to see, can we go after a head of state from a nation that's not a member? If we can go after them and we can get it done with regards to Israel, they will apply that to the United States at some point. And in fact, there have been threats to do so in the past. But the premise of the prosecution itself is completely and utterly flawed.
Marco Rubio's thoughts right there. Now, what does these sanctions mean? The sanctions complicates the judge's access to international financial system, as United States-linked institutions are now prohibited from processing transactions involving them. Also, the United States Treasury Department has issued limited licenses allowing a temporary wind down of any financial dealings with the judges, now set to expire July 8. However, any remaining funds must be held in blocked interest-bearing accounts in the United States. Such restrictions may severely impact the personal and professional lives of these judges. Now, should judges of international courts face punitive action for rulings that challenge the interest of, maybe most probably alleged reasons that challenge the interest of powerful states? Or does this set a dangerous precedent for judicial intimidation? These latest actions adds fuel to a broader Republican-led backlash against the ICC. In January, the United States House of Representatives voted in favor of measures to punish the court, underscoring Washington's increasing hostility under President Trump's leadership, particularly in defense of Israel, its closest allies. Now, the sanctions also come amid controversy within the ICC itself. Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan recently stepped aside temporarily amid a UN-led sexual misconduct probe, casting a shadow over the court's leadership during an already volatile period. How do internal controversies at the ICC affect global confidence in its mandate and impartiality? The right question to be asked. Now, the ICC, which was established in 2002, holds a jurisdiction over crimes such as genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes primarily in member states or where referred by the United Nations Security Council. Notably, the United States, Israel, China, and Russia are not party to the court's founding Rome Statute, and all have consequently rejected its jurisdiction. Now, despite this, the ICC has proceeded with arrest warrants for world leaders like Vladimir Putin and Benjamin Netanyahu, raising questions about the enforceability and reach of international justice. Meanwhile, the Trump administration's decision to sanction ICC judges is not just a diplomatic gesture. It reflects a broader confrontation between nationalist governance and international legal norms. Now, as the ICC finds itself in the crossfire of global power politics, the world must grapple with a crucial question: who holds the powerful accountable when the mechanisms for justice are themselves under siege? Well, over to Japan. For the second time in just over 2 years, Tokyo-based ispace has failed to land a lunar probe, dealing another blow to Japan's ambitions in the commercial world. Now, the company, which confirmed on Friday that its uncrewed Resilience lander most likely crashed during its descent to the moon's surface. The mission, intended to place Japan alongside successful United States private companies such as Intuitive Machines and Firefly Aerospace, ended in silence, both from the spacecraft and the 500-strong crowd of employees, investors, and government officials who gathered to witness the touchdown in Tokyo. According to ispace, Resilience failed to correctly gauge its distance from the moon's surface, preventing it from slowing down in time, and communication was lost just 2 minutes before the scheduled touchdown. Meanwhile, Chief Technology Officer Ryo Uji cited possible issues with the propulsion system, the software also, or hardware, especially the sensors. Now, while software updates had been applied since the 2023 crash, the hardware remained largely unchanged. The lander carried a four-wheeled rover developed by ispace Luxembourg subsidiary and 5 additional payloads worth a combined $6 million. Among them were scientific tools from Japanese corporations and a Taiwanese university. The mission had targeted the mere frigorite plane near the moon's north pole, and had the landing succeeded, the 2.3-meter high lander and rover would have embarked on a 14-day lunar expedition, including regolith sampling under contract with NASA. Now, can investors and stakeholders continue to justify high-risk lunar missions without demonstrated landing success? How will Japan's space sector recover from these setbacks, especially when NASA and others look for reliable commercial partners? Meanwhile, the immediate market response was brutal. Shares of ispace were overwhelmed by sell orders and expected to hit the daily loss limit, with a projected drop of 29%. Despite CFO Jupoi Nozaki maintained that ispace isn't facing financial distress, also citing continued investor backing. Also, Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba reassured the public in an X post, saying expectations for ispace have not faded. Yet, analysts warn that continued failures may lead Japanese firms to consider foreign alternatives for lunar transport. And could these repeated failures weaken Japanese credibility as a commercial space contender? A critical one right there. While ispace faltered, competitors surged ahead. US-based Firefly's Blue Ghost lander, launched on the same SpaceX rocket as Resilience, successfully touched down in March. Similarly, Intuitive Machines, Athena lander, achieved a second touchdown also, though both missions faced their own technical glitches. Meanwhile, Japan's National Space Agency, JAXA, made headlines in 2024 with its successful slim lunar landing, making Japan the 5th country to achieve a soft touchdown on the moon. Despite the setback, ispace plans to press on. A larger lander is already being developed by its United States subsidiary for NASA's commercial lunar payload services, with 6 more missions planned through 2029. CEO Takeshi Hakamada emphasized the growing role of private companies in cost-effective space exploration, especially on the tight budget proposed by United States President Donald Trump, as he stated support for U.S. subsidiary to meet NASA's expectations and also to contribute to Artemis. In the coming days, Japan's reliance on ispace may be re-evaluated as international players advance. Until next time, this is where we'll be drawing the curtain on today's Flash News. Stay tuned for Horizon at the top of the hour, 4 p.m. I am Tabitha Ako. Stay safe.